The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, the final piece of the Players Championship puzzle. This is the live chat, the weather update, picks update, ownership projections, and a whole lot more. I even put together a to make the cut parlay simply for the benefit of you, the viewer out there, because I'm not going to lie to you, it's probably a guaranteed loser. But if it's somewhat close, it is going to really ratchet up the intensity of the Cut Sweat live show coming Friday around 3:30, 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time here on the DraftKings YouTube channel and the Pat Mayo Experience Facebook page and at the PME on Twitter, where you can watch it through Periscope that way. It'll make it a whole lot of fun if we're actually sweating something. As devotees to the show may remember, I had a 16-leg to make the cut parlay at the Masters on the Cut Sweat show 2 years ago, and Jason Duffner decided to triple bogey a par 5 to make that lose. That was not fun, but we won last year's, and the Players is just an absolute shit show to begin with, so I assume like half these guys are probably going to miss the cut, but if someone's in contention, you can just watch me melt down live when they like 4-putt from inside 5 feet or something like that. But I do want to let everyone know there still are spots remaining in the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Open, like 400, 300 spots. Let's get that filled pretty quickly. I want to do 10,000 for the Masters, or at least 7,500 for the Masters. If we can get to 4,000 by like midday today, then we're going to be looking pretty good to be on the right track to do that. The link is in the description of this video and podcast. I will be taking your questions here momentarily once I go through my entire spiel about the weather and everything like that. And then Reid Fowler will be joining me. He was just at Sawgrass earlier this week, so he has the inside the ropes info of what you need to know. But let's get this started right now. Oh no, the giveaways. Everyone's here for the giveaways. So here's what you do. Subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Leave a 5-star review, DraftKings handle, and something you like about the show. That's the easy part. Now, if you do that, you'll be in a draw for 100 DraftKings dollars. Now, if we get over 3,000 5-star reviews, and we're inching very close to that, then I'm probably going to double or triple the amount of $100 giveaways that I'm doing. You want to get into a draw for 20 DK dollars? Smash the like button to the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section of the video, and tell me which player who you think is going to be the highest owned that you are using 0 shares of this week in the DraftKings Millionaire Maker or any DraftKings contest that you're going to enter. You're like, oh man, Rory's going to be 40% owned. Not playing that guy, because that's what I'm doing. So Rory's probably guaranteed to win at this point. But hey, sometimes you got to make a hard stance on a lot of this stuff. Hey, Colin Morikawa, projected 23%. Not playing him. I'll play Billy Horschel at 5%, right below him. Maybe these are some of the decisions that you're making, because they're the ones that I made. So probably you don't want to do those. We can find other like better pivot plays if you want to get off some of this chalk ownership. Let's talk about the weather to really kick things off. And after watching PGA National at the Honda Classic, Bay Hill at the Arnold Palmer Invitational the first 2 weeks in Florida, well, it benefited our bank accounts, hitting the winners in both of those. It doesn't look like the wind is going to pick up. The most I can see right now, and I'm looking at the Wind Finder. If you want to go to it, you can go to windfinder.com and type in, which station am I using? Jacksonville Beach Haven. It appears to be the closest one to the course. There is another Wind Finder station that's directly on the coast, and this course isn't directly on the ocean. It's a little bit inland, a few miles inland, so is this weather tower. So I think it's more indicative of how the wind is really going to come. Now, it is the wind. It can just come out of nowhere and start swirling like crazy, but based on projections, and Thursday and Friday are really all we can figure out, a max when the players are on the course of a consistent 6 miles per hour, gusts up to 9. That's like 1/5 of what it was last Saturday. And then on Friday, it's almost the exact same thing. The first time wind may play a factor is later for the leaders on Saturday, but even by then it could be completely changed and it could be completely benign as well. So I wouldn't factor in any AM PM splits. Maybe you want to play them anyway, just in case you think that wind might show up. I don't think that there's any discernible advantage on either side. Play as many mixed lineups as you want as it pertains to DraftKings this week, or betting first round leaders, or playing showdown contests. I would keep up to date with the weather day to day and look at the super forecast just to see if there are little pockets where maybe you can exploit a little bit of an advantage for showdown, or jump on a player who might be a bit behind but going out in a later wave is a live bet. But that's where we're at. To make the cut parlay, here's what we're going with here. Actually, no, I'm going to save this one. I'm going to give you my betting card first, then we'll bring in Reid Fowler. So my final betting card, and I do have room to add probably a guy or two to this. I'm trying to save some bullets for the actual live in play. So I kept it, for me, pretty thin. I'm not going to lie to you. It's like that detective's dick in Deuce Bigelow. You know, it's thin. It's like a Twizzler. But outright winner, I've been on him all week. Patrick Cantlay, I grabbed him at 28-1. He is available at 25-1 in a lot of spots. I'd play that too. Paul Casey, Tony Finau, two losers who I enjoyed a bet. They're both 60-1 this week. I'm on them both. I played the top 6 each way for 1/4 of that payout at 15. So 15-1 on the same bet. That's how the each way works. The bombs I'm playing, Snedeker, 100-1 with the each way. Ryan Palmer, 200-1 with the each way. And Brendan Todd, the Todd father himself, dominates short courses, makes birdies in bunches. There's no wind, and he loves Bermuda grass. Think of him as, I'm playing the two homeless men. Like, Ryan Palmer is the homeless man's Gary Woodland. Brendan Todd is the homeless man's Webb Simpson. And you get them at over 200-1. Let's go with that. Those are my guys this week. Top 10s on Palmer and Todd as well at 10 and 12-1. In the top 20s, I've played Jimmy Walker, plus 750. The Gooch at plus 750. Mark Hubba Hubbard, plus 850. And Jason Duffner at 9-1 to come inside the top 20. And you win one of those, you double your money, you're good to go. First round leaders, Palmer, Harris English, 100-1. HV3, 110-1. The Gooch, 125-1. Duffner and Hubbard, 150-1. Burns and Andrew Landry at 175-1. I've played all of those with a top 5 each way. I know it sucks that a lot of people don't have those, and that's really one of the keys to my first round leader bet strategy. Like last week, Burns falls out of the lead. He falls into a T5. Bizenut ends up inside the top 5. I at least get a partial split on that and gain a little bit of my money. End up like, if I invest $100, I think I got back like 120, something like that. But it does allow you to tread water week after week until you can finally hit one. So those are my plays. I'm going with Cantlay as my one and done. Feinberg's going with Ricky Fowler after attempting to pick Gary Woodland for the 8th consecutive week. And Cust, trying to go back-to-back with one-and-done winners at the Players with the same player. He is taking Rory McIlroy. Reid Fowler from DK Live, you're on the line. Back from Sawgrass. How was it?
It's awesome. It was awesome. You're talking about the weather. What I found really interesting, so I was only there for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. We got in Sunday night. And right around 12 o'clock, 12:30, right around noon, the wind started to really pick up. And so even though the forecast said 8 to 60 miles per hour for like a 2-hour stretch, and again, this can vary day to day, especially down there because this course is wide open. Right around that time, it was extremely gusty. The clouds came in, and around 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, it started to burn off, and the clouds started to go away, and the sun came out, and it was still a little windy. So that was something I found very interesting, is because we did a lot of our stuff too around that time. And, you know, with audio and wind, you recognize it. And that's something that you think about. So that's really interesting. So that's, if you want to kind of take that into consideration, that's something to think about.
So you heard my betting card. Where have you fallen here? Because I'm willing to be talked into someone else. And we'll go over to my Make the Cut Parlay before we get into the chat. But who are you betting this week? I'm going to guess.
Yeah, so I got Xander at 25-1.
There it is.
I just like the approaches are so nice. Get him on faster Bermuda greens. He's a lot better. Like his putting right now stinks. But I think if you get him on this course, get him with the approach, I think he's right there. And his number hasn't really changed, right? And so the sentiment on him is kind of, you know, it's so-so. Bryson at 20. On DK Sportsbook, he went down, I believe, to 2,200 or 22-1. I think he opened up at a little higher than that. So I was tempted to go with Bryson. I mean, he's murdering the ball. I mean, he's fantastic right now off the tee. I know Rick's on him and a couple other guys. Went off of him, so I got Xander at 25, Dustin at 25-1. I went Feinberg as well. I mean, if you look at that number, it just seems off. You guys were talking about it on Monday, and you got Sanjay right there. So I got Dustin 25-1. And then we were talking about it before we came on. Tony Finau, I saw this guy up close. And if you've been following me for any stretch, because I've said it probably every single week, even when he's not playing, I'm a huge Finau fan. This guy is stout. He's 6'4", I mean, like a true 6'4". He looks relaxed like he always does. I got him at 50-1. And then Poulter. Poulter is very interesting. I'm still deciding what to do with Poulter. He's at 110-1 for the outright, but his first round leader is at 90-1. It's interesting. He has a late tee draw, but if you look at his first rounds, I believe over the last 8 first rounds, he's gained strokes through approach in those the last 8, and 7 of the last 8, and 6 of the last 8 he's gained in strokes gained putting. So this guy truly, and if you just look at over his last, I believe, half dozen or so events, he's gotten a few top 5s in the first round. I got to go back and look at the exact numbers of how many rounds that goes through, but he's got top 5s over that span over the first round, and he loves this course. I mean, he hasn't missed a cut here, I believe, in 6 goes. And when you get him on a Pete Dye course, strokes gained tee to green, he's one of the better ones in the field, and the putting is there. I saw him practicing on Tuesday late on 18, and he was by himself. So maybe he's concentrating, maybe he's getting in the zone. So I like Poulter. I'm still trying to debate whether I want to go first round leader. The value is probably more on the outright, but Poulter is someone I'm looking at as well.
Yeah, it could be a decent top 10 play over an outright winner when it pertains to Ian Poulter. So where I'm at with my betting card, like I have a guy at 28 and then no one until 60 and then guys over 100. Like I have room to add people if I want to. The problem is after Cantlay, I like kind of everyone the same, and that's the issue. Like maybe you can talk me into Dustin Johnson, but I also like Adam Scott, and he's coming in at 30-1, 35-1 in some spots. And there's three guys that I feel like I'm a sucker if I don't even consider. Like Brooks at 40-1. I know it hasn't been great shakes for Brooks Koepka recently, but 40-1 is just such a gigantic number that it kind of blows my mind to look at. And the other two, Rose is now 70-1, and Stenson is 80-1. Now, I was on these idiots last week, and they were horrible. But, like, Stenson gained a ton through approach last week. He just couldn't drive the ball. But maybe getting him back at a place where he knows he doesn't need to have any extra distance. And Rose was just really... He lost over 5 strokes putting in 2 rounds. He gained on approaches. That, he may have all the new clubs back in the bag this time around. You very rarely see that quality of player coming in at the odds. Like, Rose opened at 45, went to 60. He's now down to 70. That, I don't know. It's either like Dustin Scott or Brooks, maybe one of those guys, and then add on a Justin Rose, a Stenson, or potentially even a Billy Horschel. Or do I just say screw it and just wait for the first round to play out and use fantasynational.com/PME if you want 20% off. See who's ball striking well, didn't make any putts day one, and just jump on them.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to attack the Rose angle, I told you in that Stenson call, and I didn't go with Rose because I've been there before, and Rose absolutely buried a lot of my DK lineups. And so I was with you on Stenson because it was, it's there, right? You look at this tournament, and I think you guys mentioned it earlier in the week, is that you see these huge lead changes, and that again could be part and parcel of the weather if it picks up and the wind gusts coming through, and then also the course, right? How the course is set up for those lead changes. And of those guys, it's out of these older guard guys like a Stenson, like a Rose, or the rookies. You look at Rose, over the last 36 rounds on die courses, he ranks 11th in tee to green. So if you like his approach coming into this, now getting experience on these Bermuda greens, he's fast to get blown out because of the wind, the sun's beating down, whatever it may be. You saw the irons get back to normal. Guy comes in and says, I got to make some damn putts. He gets on that putting green a little bit more. His tee to green game is there. Like he is surgical when it comes to his irons. So I don't mind that at all. But I'd rather wait. I'm like you. I'd rather wait to see how these guys play it out. This is the first big tournament, right? It's not a major, but it's the first big tournament of these guys' career. And the PGA is going to do everything they can to bolster the energy around this event. So I'd rather wait and see and save a bullet, because look what happened with guys who got on Sanjay last week. I mean, you got a lot of tickets out there with Sanjay when you actually waited and see how the course played out.
So I'm going to reserve the right to add one more to the betting outright card, or 2 long shots if I end up going like Stenson and Rose. It's probably one of those top 3 guys, Brooks, Scott, or DJ, and then maybe 2 of Rose. Like, it's going to be one or the other, the 2 or one of the guys at the top. I'll release that after the show when I make the Cut Parlay public. But here it is for viewers of the show. You want to take a flyer on a 101-1 to make the Cut Parlay? Does that interest you, Reid?
Yes, it does. It always vicariously through you, Pat. It interests me, and they're always the best part of the gut sweats, to be honest.
So here we go. So it pays $100. It's a 13 player to make the Cut Parlay. $10 gives you $111. Patrick Cantlay, Patrick Reed, Brooks Koepka, I almost said Reid Fowler, Ricky Fowler, Byung-Hun An, Ryan Moore, Graham McDowell, Harris English, Henrik Stenson, Ryan Palmer, Tony Finau, Billy Horschel, and your guy, Ian Poulter. Those 13 players make the cut. 144 players, top 65 in ties, play the weekend. I'll be $1,000 richer.
Who do you feel most confident that is not going to make the cut out of that group? Who are you most scared of?
Strangely, it's like Stenson.
Yeah, I was going to say last week scared everyone. I'm not playing Stenson this week. But look, I mean, Florida. Why do we like Gary Woodland at this course, right? I mean, yes, he's playing good, but he clubbed down guy at a Florida course. I mean, Stenson that's his thing. So I can't do it. I'll be rooting you on because those are the best, but I can't do it with Stenson. That scares me too.
Injuries of concern, although you may look like him, you are not Jason Day, but you did see Jason Day when you were at Sawgrass. Fill in the viewers on how he's prancing around the grounds.
So my source, this is a very quality source. The guy who checked me in at the hotel, like at 10:30 on Sunday night. I told him we were at DraftKings, and he's like, "Oh, who do you guys like? Who do you like?" I'm like, Jason Day at 50-1, I think he was at the time. It interests me. And he's like, "Man, I saw him come in. I checked him in. He did not look good. He looked really injured. It was like very, very, like he was holding his back. And I mean, this guy knew who the players were. So I don't take it I don't take that to account in its entirety. But he was saying that he looked really injured and was walking very gingerly. And so on Monday, we got a chance to do some stuff in the 17th green. And Jay Day so happened to be there. He didn't have any club in his hand, no putter. I don't know if it was his caddy or his manager, whoever it was. He was just talking, but he was walking very, very gingerly onto 17 green or off. Now, take it for what it's worth, right? Because Jay Day, when he's injured or when he's got a bout of vertigo, the next tournament, when we're all off on him, he wins. So take that with a grain of salt. But he is definitely coming in with something.
It's reminding me a lot. It's a lot like the Jason Day situation from last year when he withdrew from the API and then came 8th at the Players. But it's a lot like that Tony Finau incident from the Masters 2 years ago when everyone thought he broke his ankle and then no one used him, but then he came 5th at the Masters. It was like, oh, really should have used Tony Finau. Like, no one's going to use Jason Day this week.
No.
And I have him in, so I'm playing 20 lineups this week. I'm playing 20 in the Millionaire Maker, then I'm playing some 3 maxes, my contest, some single entries. But I have him in 3 of 20 lineups right now. But I left enough money in those lineups because I have no Justin Rose at the moment. But I left enough money to pivot up to him because when we talk about like ownership percentages, those are the 2 guys in the $8,000 area that no one is using.
No, not at all. I mean, you're probably going to go higher, right, with guys like Fowler, Hideki, Sanjay, but no one's using those guys. And if you're going low and you're using Fantasy National, you're looking at Casey, Woodland guys we talked about. Yeah, that's good. And that's also something to note too, that if you want to do that late swap, kind of what you guys do, like what we do in NBA, right? That late swap if guys are injured, make sure that you're going up as opposed to guys, right, that you would want to pay more for and have to go down because mentally you probably think, well, I'm getting a guy who's of lesser quality if I have to pay down. So just a little game theory note.
Well, the whole reason was I want to use Jason Day. I mean, the history is here, and then I'm taking the chance that no one's going to use him. So I want another, like, he's a piece to, like, some of my low ownership combinations. Like, I had him in with a lot of Cantlay, who I expect to be popular. I'm using some Justin Thomas. He's going to be popular. It's hard to get away from ownership at the top if you're going to use guys that have any sort of price tag next to them. But Rose is just the logical other one because he's going to be, like, 4% owned or something. That switch makes a lot more sense than me going from Day to Sungjae, who everyone's going to have. Like, looking at the ownership right now, Rory's projected to be by far the highest owned player. I'm not using any Rory this week. I'm just going to fade the ownership, hope Rory doesn't come inside the top 5, and then all of a sudden you're looking a lot better.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy. Jason Day, I mean, the last 4 events of this guy, and he's withdrawn the tournament of the week previous. It's what, an 8th, a 5th, and a 1st, and like a 60th, right? I believe when who was that? Siwoo won in 2017. But man, you're talking about getting a guy at 4%, where Fantasy National has him at 4% ownership. That's wild. So what you're doing with Rory, I'm actually doing with Morikawa. And look, it's not if you like Morikawa, and I know you do. And the stat sheets are fantastic. He's playing fantastic. If you listen to his presser this morning, it was really interesting. He said that even though a Pete Dye course, right, makes you kind of switch the way you hit the ball, he said he's going to play his fade no matter what. He's not going to play a hook if the shot calls for a draw. He's not going to do that. He's going to stick to his game, and he's going to do that because that's what's been getting him to this point. Okay, great. He's made every single cut, so clearly it works on some level. But if for whatever reason he needs to hit a draw and he decides, you know what, I'm being too stubborn, I need to play my game, especially now with his 2 boys, his friends in that group, I'm sort of playing the whole narrative street, and it's probably going to blow up in my face. But I'm doing the same thing with Morikawa because that's interesting that he hasn't missed a cut yet. And all of this ownership is on this guy. And when he said that, I kind of put the nail in the coffin for me.
And it does become a thing, too. Like, no one was really talking about Morikawa's cut streak until Fleetwood missed the cut last week, and Morikawa took over as being the guy with the longest cuts made streak on tour. Now, I don't know if it's like extra pressure to it, but it is the first time seeing Sawgrass. And like we've talked about all week, the degree of variance at this course, just because of so much water, is that if you can box out, and I have Morikawa projected at 23%, Rory at over 30%, like 2 bad water balls, and these guys missed the cut. Like that's going to happen. So if you can try to box out the field a little bit that way and just get on one of these lower owned guys that, I mean, there's no equivalent to Rory. He's by far the best player. And Morikawa is the best of the guys around him in terms of salary. But even if you wanted to use even like Stenson, no one's really using Stenson. Like fewer people are using Ben Ann this week than almost ever. Like I have him under 10%, which is shocking considering he ends up making the cut every single week. Or if you want to go up to Finau I have under 10%, which just absolutely blows my mind. You never see this stuff. So in terms of overall ownership, the highest by range that I have, Rory by far the most at the top. In the 9K level, it's Bryson and it's Webb. That's where everyone's going. It will be Cantlay after that, and he too is going to garner a lot of ownership. In the $8,000 level, Hideki and Sungjae drawing the most interest of everyone. In the 7Ks, it's Morikawa, Daniel Berger, they're 1-2. It looks like Hatton and Leishman are going to be next in terms of ownership. And this is all like over 15, 13 and over, let's say, because there's going to be some degree of variance when trying to project this out. And it's very clear who everyone's using in the $6,000 level. It's Joel Damon and it's Max Homa. And out of all of those guys, the only one that I have in my lineups, I have Cantlay in my lineups, and I have Sungjae in my lineups of all the people I just said. I'm fading the rest.
Yeah, Hideki would be the one guy in my lineups that I can't fade. It's just the irons are too hot for me right now. What's interesting too, Rob, when you talked about that 7K range, when you talk about Hatton and Mark Leishman, it's the recency bias. I think when you look at this tournament, because it's such a strong field, you can really go to guys like, I believe Horschel is in that range, right? Like there's guys there, Brandt Snedeker at $7,200, right? Get driver out of his hand, and he becomes a lot more comfortable on a course where he has to make shots happen. I mean, Matt Wallace, yes, he's not been great with his irons of late, but he's another one who only comes from the European Tour and plays in these big tournaments, so he has that experience. And the two guys that are like die specialists are right there next to each other in Bubba Watson and Kevin Kisner at 7,300. So there's definitely game theory, and that's what I would suggest in these spots, in these bigger tournaments, because there's so much information, because there's guys like you and everyone doing this, a ton of information. You got to play more game theory, especially if you're entering, any size of lineups. If you're mass entering or if you're shooting 23 or a single bullet, not a single bullet, you don't have to. But if you're entering multiple lineups, game theory is so important. Having some of these guys that have experience on this course, I would go to, as opposed to just going off a recent form, like a guy who I think was drinking straight out of the bottle an entire Hatton of vodka right after his win. So just do that.
So besides seeing Jason Day gimp around on 17 at Sawgrass, please tell everyone about your interaction with our friend Jason Duffner.
Oh, it was fantastic. He was my favorite. And so I believe he was on the top floor of our hotel because he's Jason Duffner. And so I got into the elevator after him. I saw him in there, and he looked like he had one of those bags that you get like at it, like a giveaway, like a swag. It's like the stuff you put like a gym bag, but it goes, around you hold your shoes in. So you had one of those bags, a hat that wasn't completely on. I'm giving you the full picture here. A shirt that was definitely too big, but you could still see the Duffner gut. And then he had like shin-high socks on with sandals, like very unassuming. And I think I told you that he looked like a guy who he was a dad who was on a 2-week vacation with his kids, and he just wanted to get away and go to the pool and drink like Mai Tais at 9:30 or whatever time it was, 8 o'clock in the morning. So I said good luck to him as we left, and he just gave me one of these like, that was it. And I said, Duffner, I think, what is his price? Like min price or whatever it is?
I think he's $6,100.
Okay, perfect. I'm like, Duffner, you are going in all of my lineups because you are true to form. I never met you before. I said good luck. You said, and that was it. So Duffner was a fantastic meet. Other than Finau, Duffner was my favorite.
All right, time to dig into the live chat. Thank you all for joining us. Remember to smash the like button to the video. And if you do that, and after the show is over, you leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section along with whatever I said off the top, which now I can't remember, and you'll be in a draw for 20 highest owned fade. That's it. That's the giveaway for 20 DK bucks. And if it's the audio podcast, you don't subscribe to it. If you make the decision to subscribe to it, leave a 5-star review, DraftKings handle, and something you enjoy about this show, you'll be in a draw for $100 DraftKings dollars. And if you want to get 20% off at Fantasy National, fantasynational.com/PME, just go get yourself a weekly. You want to generate some lineups, you want to do some research, just the weekly with the 20% off. I mean, you're playing way more in DraftKings lineups than that anyway. You might as well get accustomed to the site because it's something you're going to enjoy if you like to play DraftKings golf or bet on golf, even if you never even use it. In terms of like trying to pick lineups, you'll just have fun like wasting time on Fantasy National just to know more about golf. So I highly recommend it. First question comes from Mickhead. It is. No, that's not even a real question. Real questions only, please. Next one. Is Jim Furyk a fade this week? I think so, but I thought so last year and he came in second.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not playing any old guys. If I am, it's the guys I already talked about. I think Poulter is probably the oldest guy I'm playing, so I'm going to fade him.
Other chat rules. You asked the questions to Reed and I. If you start answering other people's questions in the chat, Reed, do you know what happens to those people who answer questions for you and I?
You're banned for life.
You're banned for life. So just make note of that. Paul asks, is anyone playing Jason Day? Like I said, I have him around like 2.5 to 3% ownership in the Millionaire Maker and even the $4 right now. I have him in lineups. I'm still waiting to see if the WD is coming. And listen, we're probably not going to know with Jason Day. When's his tee time?
It's 2:30.
So it's in the okay. So it's in the afternoon. Like by the time lineups lock, we're not going to know.
No. So you got. I mean, again, like I think you had a good position right up top, right? Three out of 20, whatever that percentage comes out to, right? A little over like 11%. Like you're not going to get killed by J-Day withdrawal. But man, if that hits at 4%, like we talked about, that's great.
Look, I'm lighting my money on fire by just entering these contests to begin with. Just because I have one fewer player than everyone else isn't going to turn my zero into like -0. It's just going to be zero. So I'll take the chance with Jason Day. Yeah. Michael Morgan asks, I didn't hear any mention of your boy, Luke List, this week. $6,500, less than 2% ownership projected, I would imagine. Possible flyer here. I can see him in contention at some point. Probably not for the long haul, but thoughts? I get it. He's played well at these shorter Bermuda courses. His best finishes on tour have come at Heritage and PGA National, 2 corollary courses to the Players, and his run has been a lot better recently. The tee to green is coming back, but I think I would just prefer at that price point to play Ryan Palmer instead. Yeah,
other guys like, Sung Kang is down there. Ryan Armour, get him on a short course, right? And if the flat stick, which is what he does.
Ryan Armour sucks.
He does suck. What I'm saying is I'd rather look at those guys first. Wyndham Clark is down in this range as well. So guys that are playing a little bit better, I'd rather go do than your boy Luke.
So guys in my lineup, $6,500 and below, like legit in one of at least, I think I played everyone in at least 3 lineups just to have 15% exposure across the board. So I have Palmer at 65, Jason Duffner at 61, Mark Hubbard at 6,000. Those are the 3 guys from $6,500 and below that I'm playing this week.
Yeah, I got Henley and Duffner.
I like Henley. Henley's a nice call. I really wanted to go with Jimmy Walker, but instead I just bet him top 20, and I don't want him to kill me.
Jamie Walker, he does all those like those space pictures. You seen those things like on Instagram or like you follow him on social? If you don't have to follow Jimmy Walker on social. I'm going off on a tangent here. It's not pertinent to this tournament. I just don't trust him, man. Like, where has Walker been? Get him on get him in like Texas courses, not here.
Sure, but like the approach has been really good the last 2 weeks. So I mean, he's a min price, and that's the only reason that we're talking about it. That if you want to be the person that plays Rahm and Rory in a lineup, like now these are the guys that you have to talk about. Tyler asked thoughts on Harold Varner this week. I bet him his first round leader. I don't really have high expectations for him though.
Yeah, he's just like he's been popping up on the Florida swing, but there's guys I'd rather play. So he's a no for me.
Joseph says, can't lay chalk bomb. Heard it here first. That's not the fucking first time I've heard that this week, you asshole. Fuck off. Banned for life. Don't need people.
Good to be back, man.
I know.
Great. Good to be back.
Assholes in the chat taking it away. Heard it here first. Yeah, you're the first person to have that thought, pal, I'm sure. Steven, should I ride the hotheads and go all in on Rahm? Anyone else I'm forgetting that a temper tantrum might It might temper tantrum their way to victory again this Sunday. Well, I mean, Hatton's back on that list. Reed's a bit of a hothead, but Rahm is this is where it got the most pronounced with like Rahm freaking out was this course last year when he hooked it into the water from the sand trying to go for it on 16.
Yeah, that's stupid. That was his fault. I mean, I think everyone, even his caddy was like, what are you doing? Like, do not do this. Do not do this. And then he does it to himself. So he's helping post. But if you've been listening to Rahm, he's kind of taking this Rory McIlroy approach, right? This being more mindful of how he is. So he has this like docile and this very calm demeanor before the tournament. I just can't wait. Look, Poulter's a guy that's a hothead probably. Roy Sabatini is another one. So if you want to go hotheads, I'm sure you'll be able to find him.
Next question comes from thoughts on Hatton. I know you're always keen on fading the previous winner. Didn't work out last week with Sungjae. But the price and form, but also factoring in the drunkenness. It's not so much that I like to fade the winner from the week before. It really depends on who that person is. Like, I went back to Sungjae last week in my DraftKings lineups. I didn't bet him, but I thought he was a good price. I think he's a good price again this week, and that's why I'm going to use him. Hatton is undervalued, but he can also be a relatively inconsistent player as well. That when I look at him at 7,400, is he the best player at 7,400? Probably in his range, but I don't think that like he's significantly better, especially at this course, than someone like Snedeker or some of the other lower owned guys, a Billy Horschel for that matter. That if he's going to be overwhelmingly more popular than all the people around him, that's why I would end up fading him. It doesn't say because he won, there's the recency bias, and because the pricing came out before that tournament, he's so cheap that everyone's going to be on him. I think that's the reason to fade him.
Yeah, and the difference between him and Sungjae, like Sungjae played, however many tournaments before, 20, whatever it was. And Hatton's never a guy, especially at the beginning of the season on the PGA Tour, who comes over and gets that form. Like he didn't need it clearly, and he won. There's just a little difference. You can't compare apples to apples to Sungjae, who's becoming one of the better players, in Hatton, who in certain spots pops up. Again, the guys around there, Bubba Watson is around there. Scotty Scheffler is around there. And so actually an interesting story about Scheffler and Cameron Champ, who's another guy. I know Cuss likes Champ. I told you like on Sunday or whatever it was that I liked them, and you told me that Cuss picked them, and I was instantly regretting my decision. But this is not like there's no quantitative analysis here at all.
I like it. No, see, I like this. This is what we need to get into. This is the Cust factor. No,
okay.
Spin only.
Yeah. So the first tee has a event on Mondays for all the kids, and there's a behind the 17th tee box, there's this hospitality area where it's like the merchandise tent, all the places where you eat, and there's this miniature 17th green where all the kids get to do it. And so Cam Champ and Scotty Scheffler were the two guys that were going through this. The year previous, it was Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood who did that, which is crazy because Tommy Fleetwood and Rory McIlroy, they both finished first and third last year. So if you want a little narrative to actually chase Cust, that's it, because those two guys last year, and Tommy Fleetwood and Roy McIlroy, ended up finishing in the top three. And now you got a guy like Cam Champ, who I like, and Scotty Scheffler, who played well, but just, went double every single, 17, 18th hole in his rounds last week. Those two guys potentially have this first team narrative coming through. So I'm sorry it's not a bad take for Cust. It's actually a pretty good one.
See, that falls directly in the Cuss zone, except he doesn't know what the first tee is and would have no idea about this.
Oh, I mean, look, Cuss and Champ, I appreciate that call.
Well, it's funny because he was all in on Cameron Champ, and then he gave up on Cameron Champ. Then Cameron Champ instantly won again. Now he's back on him. Bad news for Cameron Champ. What's the ownership number showing for DJ? I got him between 10 and 12%, and I do have a lot of lineups that I start with DJ, so I like that this week. Philip asks, would you go Cam Champ over Hama as a variation on a 6K guy? I like getting off of Hama, but it wouldn't be Cam Champ for me.
Yeah, like I said, I like Champ. Reason why, Strokes gained tee to green. It's still there. He missed a cut, right? He missed two cuts back to back, but he's still gaining strokes. And get him on a fast surface, Bermuda surface, he puts a lot better.
Evan asks, Kisner, Berger, Snedeker, Poulter, Hatton. Pick two. The only one I'm using of those guys is Snedeker, so Snedeker will be my pick. You can pick the other one.
I'll go Poulter.
All right. Snedeker and Poulter it is. Back to the YouTube's chats here. See what people are saying. Why is there no love for Fleetwood this week? I feel like there is love for Fleetwood. I guess it's It's probably just because he missed the cut last week. Like, people were very gung-ho with the Honda when he was the top price player. They're like, oh, he's the top price player. I don't want to use too much of him. He comes in second, blows it on 18. Then he goes out and misses the cut. So that's probably why. Maybe he actually is the overlooked one in the 9K range that no one is taking, that maybe you should move your shares onto. Like, if you have a bunch of Hideki, I know Hideki is going to be popular. And the two guys right around him, like, no one's using Fowler. I'm going to use Fowler, but no one's using Fowler. And, like, Fleetwood I have projected for 10%, but I could see him coming in under that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they think like his putting sucks on fast Bermuda greens. Over the last 50 rounds, he's 108th in this field. But I mean, look, with Tommy, right? This is going back to, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this is going back to game theory. Get these guys that are extremely good players. I mean, we just saw Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, again, it was a bad field. You know, almost like perform to his high price variance. That's a Rory McIlroy type of performance. He just on 17 or 18 he just couldn't close the deal. But yeah, why not? At $9,000? Absolutely.
Rick Run Good from yesterday's show, which everyone should go check out. You hit the description, you can find the links to all the other shows, the contests, and everything like that. And listen, here's the sneaky thing. Reed, the Players Championship show from Monday is well on its way to being the most downloaded episode of the Pat Mayo Experience of all time. So what I need people to do is to delete it from their phones and then like connect to a Wi-Fi network and download it again. And then I might be able to hit number 1 on the iTunes search. We'll try to rig it that way. But I'm saying this quietly. We'll keep this between you and I, okay?
That's great. Well, look, I mean, this is 2020. You got to use all of the advantages that you can get through technology. I'm actually going to do that after we get off.
Me too. I'll go do it like 3 times. Everyone else out there does it once. We're good to go. Rick actually says he'd take your off the tee game. It's funny when you're talking about hitting a fade or when you're hitting a draw earlier. Like, that's a nice shot for you until you like duck hook it.
Yeah, or like, is he talking about a drive when I close my eyes, or one that I hit like 5 inches behind the ball, or I just hit a huge divot? No, like Rick actually, he's selling himself short. Rick is actually a very good golfer. The day that we all played before the actual DFS Open, Rick was striping it. He hit every single fairway. It was fairways and greens for Rick, and he was sinking like 40-foot putts. So a guy like Rick, like I'd take his short game over my long game any day of the week.
Rick turned into Rick Spieth for like a 9-hole stretch, like just making everything. It was like, good God.
He did. He called it though. He said he's a Spieth.
Yeah, well, it worked. Max asks, does it help to look at other Pete Dye course finishes, or is Sawgrass an outlier? I don't think it correlates perfectly. Like, the problem with Pete Dye courses and looking at strokes gained and results at those courses is that outside of the majors and match play, generally speaking, you have the Stadium course for the American Express. You have TPC River Highlands for the Travelers, Heritage. Like, good players don't normally play these courses. Like, you might get 1 or 2. Like, Webb Simpson, he plays them all. Cantlay tends to play a lot of these too. So I think it does help, but it doesn't necessarily correlate 1-to-1. I think if you just want to look at, it doesn't, like, Rory's going to be good basically wherever that you put Rory, and like a lot of the top end players that way. I think it's more meaningful for the mid-tier guys to see someone who's a bit surprising that could pop up, especially without form. That's kind of what Furyk did last year, another guy who's performed really well at Pete Dye courses over the years. But I would look at Eastlake if you want like the high end to see who really plays well. It's a shorter Bermuda course. Other than that, you have the Wyndham, you have Heritage, Sony Open, PGA National, and I do think Memorial a little bit correlates as well. It just seemingly there's a lot of crossover success at a lot of those tournaments. And hey, Patrick Cantlay won there last year, so maybe he can win here this year too. But that's how I would play like the Dye narrative. Like, I don't think the Travelers really has much in common with anything at Sawgrass.
No, not at all. I mean, if you want to go prestige, like Quail Hollow might be another one, right? Like that I would look at. Do you say Whistling Straits? I don't know if you.
I mean, Whistling Straits is a Dye course, but I mean,
different, right? The context is different.
You have to take out driver and just absolutely pummel the ball at Whistling Straits. Yeah, like you don't do that here.
Exactly. So it's more about the guys who are playing at those events, right? Like the prestige of those events at Dye courses that you get on. I will say that Harbour Town is interesting. Harbour Town played more difficult than Sawgrass in terms of scoring relative to par last season and in the season before. So now you get an idea, right? Again, it's the different type of atmosphere with the players in RBC. You might actually like the RBC a little bit better. But it's you can't take it apples to apples. I will say that guys though, like for me, like Kisner, like in that range, right? That 7K range where you see a ton of Hatton and Mark Leishman ownership. I might lean towards a guy for a tiebreaker like a Kisner or a Bubba Watson who've shown over time that they've done well on those courses.
Andrew asked, 9K absolutely loaded this week. Scott and Fleetwood seemingly going under the radar. That's it. That's not even a question, but I'll try to extrapolate from that. I went with Scott over Fleetwood. I actually have a lot of Adam Scott this week. I broke up. I really had it concentrated, and then I decided no Rory, no Rahm, a little bit of Justin Thomas, but I initially had like 8 of 20 lines with Justin Thomas. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to match the field with Justin Thomas, bring that down to 4, and then I can have a bit of DJ and a bit of Scott instead and break up some of that Cantlay. I think I have Cantlay in 10 of 20 lineups, so if he truly is the chalk bomb, which that asshole from earlier, who's banned for fucking life, had mentioned, he ends up missing the cut. It's not going to be a good week for me.
No, it's not. So I'm the exact opposite with Xander. I got him in like 40 or 50% of my lineups. And a guy that we haven't talked about yet is Jon Rahm. Like, what are you doing with Rahm? Are you fading him? It sounds like because you're playing JT, matching the field, you're fading Rahm.
Yeah, I'm going to fade Rahm here.
Yeah.
It's not fun fading Rahm or Rory, but if I was playing 150 lineups, I'd probably play both of them in the mix, but I'm not. So these are the decisions that I had to make.
Right. Like, I mean, you're talking about JT, Rahm, and something like Rory, right? These guys can all win. They can all win at a moment's notice. Rahm was in the mix last year. And so, like, when you start talking about this range, right, you got to make a stance. Like I said, I made one on Xander. Bryson is right there. I'm probably going to be underweight, which is probably silly on my part with Bryson. But I like him, right? He's more of a betting market guy for me. But the two guys that I'll be heavily owned in this top range are DJ and Xander.
If we just look at this board right now, like I can tell you who I'm using in my lineups, who I'm not. I have 0 Rory, 0 Rahm, using Thomas, Brooks, and Dustin. I have Brooks in 4 of 20 lineups. I have Dustin in 4 of 20 lineups. A lot of Cantlay, Scott, no Xander, no Webb, no Bryson for me. That's how I'm playing the top.
Yep. I like it.
Okay. Hard to make picks this week because it's the biggest purse and so many guys can win. That's just fucking fantastic insight. Thanks for showing up. Smash the like. Igor asked, thoughts on Seb Straka, first round leader. Now this is the stuff that we need to get into. If you ever bet Seb Straka, and he did hit me the first round leader at Valspar last year, that's a more difficult course, but on Bermuda grass in Florida. We're going to see it again next week. He just pops up. His ball striking is so good from in particular rounds. It's rarely sustainable for him, but he is the type of guy that I would like to play as first round leader. I made my stances on my first round leaders. He is not one of them, but if he wanted to be yours, I would have absolutely no problem with that.
Yeah. Again, that's where you take these flyers, right? We've seen guys like Mackenzie Hughes be a first round leader at this event. I'd rather actually go towards like more form in like first round leaders, guys who have been around the mix a little bit. Actually, your boy Cantlay, I know he's not, it doesn't fit in that category of what you like for first round leaders. He's 40-1 on DK Sportsbook for a first round leader. He's someone, if you can get a solid number on, he's got an early tee draw. I really like that. Again, you and I both like to go a little bit higher in terms of first round leader, but if you can get a good number on a guy like Cantlay, out of the elite guys that we talked about earlier, he's someone that I really, really like, especially with that tee draw.
Any love for the lefties, Bubba and Phil? I mean, Herman might be the best of those three.
Yeah. Although Bubba, for whatever reason, switched. Now he's putting like he's never putted before and just losing strokes everywhere else. But yeah, I would say Brian Harman is definitely the one to choose there.
Bubba is probably good to make the cut here because he generally does, but he doesn't have any high finishes. Like it's always like T43. So Bubba over Phil, but like Harman could probably spike a top 10, like if things break right for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have more Bubba than any one of these guys. But if you're talking about just in terms of the best fit, like Harman's the guy who does, I think, better in this situation. But I've made my stance on Bubba, as you can tell, 5-10 minutes ago.
Kerry asked, what do you think about Hideki for one and done? Currently sitting in 54th. I think Hideki is going to be a very low owned one and done this week, solely because I think everyone's used him already. So that actually makes him somewhat like, that's one way to approach one and done when trying to tackle studs is, were these guys really popular at other tournaments? And Hideki has been popular like 3 times this year. So very few people have him left to use. And then from that group who hasn't used him yet, they're probably not all going to use him. So yeah, I don't mind Hideki as a one and done.
Yeah. Xander's the same guy who is someone that was used probably in the no-cut events, right? He always has that narrative. Tommy Fleetwood is another guy like Hideki that probably a lot of people used early on the Florida swing at Honda. So he's another one that if you still have that bullet left, use Tommy.
Got any thoughts on old Keegan Bradley, of him being a good fit here? Like, the ball striking, it's going to be there, but it's a lot like the problem with rostering a Keegan Bradley is that he can putt you out of a tournament. He has now lost strokes putting in 5 consecutive events, and like that's like a upswing in his career.
Yeah, Cam Champ is right there at 6'9". Yeah, I'm not playing Keegan. And I'm totally fine with Keegan going, 6-7 under in the first round and then totally going full Keegan. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he's not a bad play, but
No.
For reference, the guys that I'm using from the top of the $6,000 level, I'm using GMAC and I'm using the Gooch. They're both at 69. I'm using Andrew Landry. I think I have him in 3 of 20 lineups, and I have projected like 0.1% ownership. He's made the cut here both years that he's played, and he makes birdies in bunches. And like, if the weather isn't going to be a big factor and it does turn into like a birdie maker course, it's the same reason that I bet him as first round leader is that he can go out and have like a -6 type of day. And if that's all he does all week and he makes the cut, like, I feel like that's going to be good enough. The other one, like I mentioned, Ryan Palmer is right there too. But those are the 6K guys that I've sprinkled in and out. Not a lot of exposure to any of them, but enough to like, I didn't want to trim it down to 3 guys and play them in like 6 lineups apiece. And like double up on them in some lineups. I kind of want to sprinkle out what I was doing just a little bit. Daniel asked, not much EVR talk. Any interest? Has played well in big events. I didn't even really think of him this week, but that's a really good point. EVR is a good player.
He's right by Harris English, though. Harris English is fighting for his card, just fighting for his life. And look, Harris English, all joking aside, he's hitting the ball extremely well, and he's one of the best putters on fast Bermuda greens. Like, you're going to hear me keep on saying that. He's right there at 7,200 7,200 as well. I'd rather go Harris English, but EVR is, like you mentioned, to be honest, I didn't even know he was in the field, which clearly he would be, but I just didn't look at him there.
Yeah, and so yeah, he's a completely forgotten man this
Yeah.
week. I don't know if anyone else is talking him up, but he's not a terrible play by any means. First time he is seeing the course, however, I believe. I'm using Harris English as well. Like he's playing legit good right now.
Yeah, like what, 2008 or 9 Harris English? Like when he's good. He's also a big guy too, man. He's like 6'3", 6'4". But these guys putt really well as well.
And a lot of success at courses which match up a lot with Sawgrass. Honda Classic success, OHL success, Sony Open success. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to see him do well, even if he continues at 80% of the form that he's flashing right now. Like when you take the $7,200 guy, you don't expect them to win. You just want them to like come inside the top 20. Harris English can do that. Dylon asks, would a Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson build be chalky or unique? I think that'd be pretty unique.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. You talked about JT, kind of one of these stars that goes under the radar. Like I said, I don't mind it. Again, you guys know why I like DJ. JT's already won, 2 or 3 times this season? So, yeah, absolutely.
Thoughts on Brian Harmon and Russell Henley? It's a no for both of me, but you said you're using Henley?
Yeah, Henley is one of the guys I'm using below 7K.
Any love for Sergio Garcia? I hope he makes the cut because of the make the cut parlay. But outside of that, nothing for me with Sergio. But looking at the Fantasy National ownership projections, people have a slightly different spin on Sergio from me. They have him around 7% right now in terms of ownership. But if as many casual players end up playing in the Millionaire Maker that I think they end up doing, if it ends up filling by the end of it, I could see Sergio going higher. Like him and Kuchar really benefit from like casual players jumping into the player pool.
And that's a full course history play, right? Because like he hasn't really done much of recent. Like I have no take on Sergio. Frankly, I think he's a little bit overpriced even at 8K because he doesn't have much form coming into this. It's all current history, or excuse me, course history. But again, a guy that I'd rather play in that same vein is Matt Kuchar.
I'm just not going to play either of them in that range.
Yeah.
Like I said, Casey, Finau, that's good enough for me. And I'll sprinkle in some Stenson and Horschel below them. I'll get away from that type of play. And like I said, like if I miss out, I miss out. Then you got to make these stands somewhere. Thoughts on Keith Mitchell? I get it. We're on Bermuda. That's always a plus. The only time you can ever play Keith Mitchell is basically on Bermuda. He won at PGA National last year. That's a course that is pretty similar to this. He's done well at Sony. So I get a lot of the logic. I'm just not on him.
No, getting ball close and putting well. And he had a really good round 4, right? Coming back in the Honda Classic. Or was it API? I can't remember which one, where he like back-ended a top 10, I believe. But yeah, I'm not on him. I get it. He's $6,600 and he plays well in Bermuda. I get it, but not for me.
Michael Singh says 20 lineups. Is it good enough to fade Webb, Leash, Hattenberger, DJ Scott for guys projected over 10%? Double the field on Rahm and Morikawa? Sure, do whatever you want. Mickhead, do you think the most popular lineup build will be Stars and Scrubs or Balanced? I think it's going to be Stars and Scrubs.
Really? Yeah.
Just because you can, because like you can build that like Rahm Rory lineup and even squeeze in an 8K guy and then go low 7s, 2 6s. Like
True.
The amount of lineups that are going to have Rory and Joel Damon, Rory and Max Hama, or Rory, Damon, and Hama in them are out of control.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my first inclination was to say about balanced lineup, right? Because you see the value across the entire board. But yeah, I mean, when you have a guy like DJ at that price, and some of the other guys that aren't doing exactly well, that 9K range, which is nice, right? I think for guys like you and I, it could potentially be a dead range. So I think you're right. Yeah, my first instinct was to say balance, but yeah, you make a good case.
Do you like DJ or is he a fade? I am using him, so I like him.
Yeah, I like DJ. He's really good on Pete Dye courses as well. So playing DJ.
He's also just really good. That helps.
Just really good.
How about all middle? I think there is more bang for your buck. Don't even know what that means. Mike says, why did Wyndham Clark DQ last week? Oh, and he just a one-timer. He wants me to reference the name of a man who's not in the field, but used to be at one point everyone's favorite, John. It's been a while since we had a John reference, but why did he WD? I think it's like signed an incorrect scorecard.
I had no idea. Was that last week?
Yeah, I didn't even notice because I so rarely play Wyndham Clark outside of first round leaders that, didn't even notice. People really like Wyndham Clark.
They do. Like he's down there in that 6K range. I don't know the exact reasons why any guy's WD unless you actually see the reason why, like a Jason Day vertigo bout. But yeah, you can, but don't overexpose yourself though with Wyndham Clark this week.
Does this feel like a classic Webb Simpson tourney? Yeah, I mean, he fucking won here 2 years ago. What's wrong with you? Chip asks, do you have Griot in any lineups? On a 4 miscut run, but approach is still somewhat there. I can't do it to myself. Like,
no.
Let Griot beat me. I'm fine with that. Like, if you want to go out and come in second or win this Griot, that's fine.
Is Raza on Griot?
I don't even think he is. Raza actually brought up the point that Griot was like 10 or 12 over in the second round at API last week and then DQ'd, so his stats don't count from the round. So
really?
He's just manipulating all the stats, so it makes him look better.
That's like a rage quit, right? When you're losing in Madden or something and it just doesn't count to your franchise record. I didn't even realize that. But yeah, no, Grillo, he's not even filling up the stat sheet, right? Like correctly. So no, don't do it.
Starting lines with $9,100 Bryson. Would that be contrarian? Yes, I think it would. I think that's, if you want to deploy the Webbs and Brysons of the world, that's probably the best way to get off of having similar lineups of everyone else. That if you want to start with Bryson, start with Webb, or just pair those two as your top end guys. Like I can tell you that I have a few lineups that start with Cantlay and Scott, Cantlay and Ricky, Scott and Ricky, and then just Ricky. Like I think I have a lineup that's like Ricky, Reed, Sungjae, Casey, Finau, and someone else. Like that type of lineup. Like I don't think you're giving up that much, and you can fit 5 really good guys into your lineup. Like this guy says, is Patrick Reed or Sungjae Im in this tourney? Like I would probably, objectively, if you can, he says you can only use golfers once through the majors, and that includes the players, which seems like just a completely fucking farce rule because this isn't a major. But I would use Im here over Reed. Now I'm using them both in my lineups, but if I had to pick one of them, I think this course is better suited for Sungjae.
And is that both because you like Im over Reed here, but also you like Reed over Im at Augusta?
I just like Reed better at the other majors. Now, if the PGA Championship sticks at Harding Park, I do like Sungjae there. But just based on his performance and track record at majors and his lack of high-end finishes at this tournament and just the skill set that Sungjae has. He's going to hit the fairways. He's going to be dialed in with his irons. Like, there's such a higher degree of variance with Patrick Reed from week to week where Sungjae is like the most consistent guy going that I think that I would use him in that particular situation.
Yeah, to the original question, like a lot of my lineups are going Xander. I'm going down to Hideki, right, and sprinkling in some Tommy there. It's like we talked about, right? The Stars and Scrubs is going to be the popular play. The balance starts with those guys like Bryson, and if you look at this tournament, right, Siwoo Kim, Rory McIlroy, and I believe Jason Day, or I forget which one was the third one was. These guys were like top 1 or 2 in strokes gained off a tee after the tournament. And so even though we're saying, approach, guys who can hit it far clearly have an advantage. And Bryson is number one. Cam Champ, by the way, is number two over the last 24 rounds, I believe, of Fantasy National shows comes off the tee. But if you get the ball far out there, it's going to help. So I don't mind Bryson starting your lineups at all.
Nick asks, is Grace a viable pivot off of some of the upper 6K guys? Yeah, I think that he is, but he's not my preference of those guys. I just gave those out, but I have nothing bad to say about Brendan Grace at the price point.
Yeah, not bad at all. Again, I'm going Champ when I go up there, and some other guys.
Does Fleetwood make the cut and Morikawa misses first cut? Kind of hope so. I hope they both miss a cut.
Yeah, I really hope, because I also got a Paul Casey over Colin Morikawa at plus 110. So I'm going the whole Pete Dye and old guy narrative over the young gun. I hope so. I actually I like Colin Morikawa. I think he's a fantastic player, but come on, man, just one time, Colin.
Yeah, I use you every week, and you're awesome.
Yeah.
You've done your job. Just take the week off, man. Go burn everyone else's lineups. This is going to be great. Yeah. Palmer asked, thoughts on Big Dick Vic? No one's talking him up, which is true. He is a first-timer, and Palmer thinks he's finally sobered up since his win in Puerto Rico. Now, you also encountered Big Dick Vic when you were down at Sawgrass, didn't you?
Right. Yeah, he was in the lobby of our hotel, and I also gave him a good luck. He gave me a thank you. But how tall do you think Big Dick Vic is?
This blew me away when you told me.
Right. You think he looks, right? Because he's got a good stature on him. We think he's about 6 feet. No, he's about 5'8", 5'9". Now, again, that has no quantitative analysis on this tournament because, look, short guys win this tournament all the time, like Ricky, and I think Webb's kind of short too. But look, he's been playing fantastic. He's third in stroke same ball strike in the last 24 rounds. So if you want him at 7,700, no one's playing Spieth, right? A lot of people are probably going to go there, or Benny Ann, if they're not going Leishman or Hovland, or Hatton. Yeah, he's again, he was a lot shorter than I expected, but he looked like he was well rested when he was in the lobby in the hotel.
Dustin asks, how much chalk is too much chalk? I'm not playing Hovland, by the way, just as the answer to that question. How much chalk is too much chalk this week? Can I play 4 chalky guys and 2 low-owned losers and still be fine? Probably. But I just think that fading the chalk this week over other weeks, like we keep reiterating because of the variance, that you can box out so much of the field. And it's not like, I would say out of all the courses where Rory could miss the cut, like he just randomly did at the British Open last year, but this seems to be the one with the highest degree of high-end players who do miss the cut. So just getting off the chalk can box you out a lot right away. That's why I would end up doing that. Ownership projection for Poulter and Adam Scott. Let me look this up here for you. Ian Poulter, what do you think it is?
4%.
9 to 12%. Adam Scott coming in anywhere between 13 and 16%. So a bit more owned than people might think.
No. Interesting.
Yeah, fun stuff. Next one. If you're making 20 lineups, how many players are you using in your player pool? That is dependent on you. You have to figure that out for yourself. Whatever you're comfortable with. I know people that use 12 players for a 20-man pool. This week, I think I used 19 in a 20-man pool. I've used 27 in a 20-man pool, and that's actually the week I have won the most money ever. Some weeks I think I did 14 last week. So you play around with it. You try to find a sweet spot, and I think it really depends on what the tournament is, how many players are in the field, and how strong your convictions are this week. I mean, just hearing Reed and I talk this through, it's very clear there are a few players that we like, but once you get past the 3 or 4 guys you love, a lot of guys fall into the next bucket. Then it's really hard to differentiate between them.
Yeah, my player pool, and it can also be cut down or added, right? You don't have to stick with who you had on Monday just because you want to stick them into the lineup. And so mine started at 14 or 15 at the beginning of the week, and now it's down to about 10 to 11 guys that are like my core players that I want to play in all my lineups. So again, it's all a matter of personal preference.
And just to kind of hit home on that, Jesse asked, Palmer's on your cheat sheet. Don't remember hearing any chatter about him on the yesterday's show. Why Ryan Palmer? The more I kept digging in on Ryan Palmer, especially after the show yesterday, I was actually talking to Rick and Ben once we finished, and we started talking about Ryan Palmer a little bit. He played really well at Sony. I like that. He played really well at Honda. I like that. And those are courses where he's popped up over time. And just to go back and look at his track record at the Players, it's mixed. A lot of missed cuts, but a lot of nice finishes as well. I think his ball striking is on point right now, and that for $6,500, I think that he's a good scorer. He's one of the few players down there that plays short courses well, but also has a lot of distance, and the par fives aren't going to be a problem. Really high eagle rate for Ryan Palmer. So if you get like an average to above average putting week from him, I just think that he could really spike, especially in terms of DraftKings scoring. So that's the more research that I did, the more I ended up getting onto Ryan Palmer. Like you mentioned, like what we think on Monday isn't necessarily exactly the same thing we do on Wednesday. That's why I like bringing the live chat back, that I can talk through some of this. Because when I talk about it with Feinberg, we did that Sunday evening right after the API ended. Like I didn't even have like a full course research onto it yet. That's why I kept the betting card very light. But stuff changes. You hear information, opinions change. Like you shouldn't lock yourself in. People say don't tinker. Like I'm not going to wake up tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. and tinker with my lineups, but like I'll keep going over my lineups tonight. Like I said, I got that decision to make between Jason Day and Justin Rose. Do I want to roll the dice with Jason Day and hope he doesn't withdraw and no one uses him and I'm one of like 4 people who uses him, or do I just go up to Justin Rose, who also people aren't using, but isn't at risk to withdraw? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, knowing you, I know you're probably going to go with, or have a good idea. But that's Pat, right? Like I probably lean a little bit more towards, guys like a little more conservative to make the cut. But that also means that if there's more people that are like me on the conservative side who want to do that, then obviously clearly, you're chasing the public a little bit. So again, it's personal preference. If you look at Palmer, right, he's a guy who can hit the ball. We've seen him in these spots. We've seen him in bigger tournaments contend. And so why not at 6,500? When you talk about win equity down in this range, or equity that you want in this range, he is the guy, right? Ryan Palmer can hit the ball well. His bogey avoidance is somewhere in the middle or maybe top third of this field. So he's not a guy who can make. Now, he did get a 9 on he did look like me out of the stand, and he got a 9 on that one hole, but it's not a guy who really makes a ton of mistakes.
Thoughts on Snedeker and Kisner in the lower 7,000s? Look like good pivots. Kisner down with die courses. Obviously, he lost in a playoff to Ricky here 4 years ago. Catch him early, got a tune-up. Sned's good this year. Okay, just ask the fucking question. I don't need your fucking color on it. I like Snedeker. I bet him to win. I'm using him. I'm not using Kisner.
I'm using some Kisner, but I get the whole Snedeker. I get it. This is a course that he didn't usually like, but I think the March move, I think, does cater a little bit towards him because can't really use driver here.
Yeah, and if you look at his results, they're mixed. A lot of miscuts, and like his best finish was 5th last year, but he's been striking his irons really well. The short game's never going to be a problem with him. It's like, can he drive it okay? If he drives it okay, I think that he has a chance.
Yeah, and if you listen to what he said last year, he said that he finally is, well, quote unquote, figured out how he plays and can play this course successfully. Once you get that, and that's why I really got a little bit turned off in the Morikawa, like, I'm just going to go out there and play my game. Despite what Pete Dye, that's what he does. He's diabolical. He makes you hit a left to right, then a right to left on back-to-back shots. No 2 holes are the same. They're dog-leg lefts or rights. The wind changes in terms of how you're hitting it. So that's what you like about the older guys, right? They kind of get more comfortable letting stuff come to them. And Snedeker clearly is one of the better ones. And he's he's ranked 3rd and around the green. So if his irons aren't working, he's one of the best to get up and down.
And when we start talking about those corollary courses, the short Bermuda tracks on tour, let's see, Snedeker has won at Eastlake. He's won twice at Wyndham. He has won at Heritage. He's lost in a playoff at the Sony Open. Like, it's pretty good. That's exactly what you want to see. So if he's figured this out, he's nearing the end of his viability, too, to compete at some of these major tournaments. He's getting older. So this would be a nice... I love Brant Snedeker. I hope he wins. I mean, for my bank account, I really hope he wins. Yeah. But out there, for my lineups, I hope he wins as well. But personally, I'm in too. If you out there want to get into a draw for 20 DraftKings dollars, smash the like button to the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me who is the highest owned player that you are full out fading this week at the Players Championship. Now, don't put that in the live chat. Just wait till the show is over and do that. But you can smash the like at any time you want. When we talk about ownership projections and stats and sorting by round and generating our lineups in a tournament simulator, that's all from FantasyNational.com. Get 20% off, FantasyNational.com/PME. And you can go check it out. I recommend the weekly. Just get yourself acclimated with the system. You'll super enjoy it. Promise you that. Xander ownership from Greg. I got him between 12 and 16%. It could come on the high end, could come in the low end, but you're the first person I've heard really have conviction on Xander this week. He seems to be everyone's second, third choice kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's why he's like, I have more conviction on him, because I want to get even more overweight on the field of those people who are dilly-dallying, who might have that same issue that you're dealing with with Rose there and Jason Day is like, oh, I can play Bryson for $300 less, and I've seen Bryson do well and Xander not. That's the exact game theory that I'm talking about. That you have to have your stances in these tournaments. Xander's my guy for this one.
Well, I see that we're only at 91 likes right now. If we don't get to 100 likes in the next 3 minutes, that's going to be the end of this. I'm not going to take any more questions. So better smash that like if you're watching right now and you want your question asked. Any worry about betting Paul Casey since Valspar isn't until next week? As someone who's lost a lot of money on Paul Casey over the years, yes, I always worry when I bet Paul Casey, but I'm doing it anyway.
I like Paul Casey, man. He's just the guy. I just like who he is too. I think Feinberg said on your guys' Monday show, it's friends and family card for him. Potentially, like Casey's always a guy who sticks around. Oh, he didn't stick around last year, and that ruined a ton of us. But I like where his game's at. I like where his headspace is at for Pete Dye course.
What's your take about starting lives with DJ and Brooks? Please try to pronounce my name. Oh, good God. I have no problem starting DJ and Brooks. You don't need to do a lot of it either. Like if you're playing a single entry or just one lineup, probably not. But if you do venture into that 20 lineup territory, go with it. Yes, Paul.
I believe it's Tharusha Guntalik.
Tharusha
Guntalik?
Tilek.
I think it looks pretty straightforward.
I mean, Indian names do tend to be pronounced phonetically. If this is an Indian name, then, I mean, Paul's got you on that one. That's pretty good. You can re-comment. This guy asked your thoughts on Cantlay. I hate him. Fucking hate him. I think he loses.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Yeah, as my pick to win, I'm gonna say that I do like him.
Yeah, he's good.
That's gonna be my stance this week. These are not questions. Could Rogers top 20? Shockingly, anyone in this field could top 20. So I'll leave you with that. I don't like Patrick Rogers this week. He sucks at this tournament.
No, wasn't he a popular play last week too?
Yeah, I believe he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been playing good golf and better golf than he has over the past few years. But I think he's played this tournament the past 4 years and missed the cut every time.
Give me Connors, man. What about good old Corey Connors? He was also there at the hotel super late
next week, man. Next week for Corey Connors.
Yeah. Okay.
Next
okay.
week. I was looking at low Canadian. Nick Taylor's 3.5 to 1 to be the best Canadian here. I think I actually might take that bet.
Huh. What about Hadwin, your boy?
Hadwin never plays.
I know. Where's he been?
He had a baby. I appreciate him taking the time off, but he's now out of the top 50, so he's not even in the Masters anymore.
Jesus, I thought he was doing the Mike Weir plan where he just goes off and has a secondary job. Because I haven't seen him. You're right. He hasn't been around. So, I mean, so you don't like him at all this week?
Hadwin? No.
Yeah, me neither.
Palmer, what's your take on winners' trends as far as having been in the top 20 year prior at this event, having at least top 4 year prior? No, I don't care about that stuff. Do you?
No, not really. You maybe as like a tiebreaker, but not really.
Sneds or Poulter? Those were our two guys. I'll go with Sneds. Ooh. I'm taking Sneds.
Man, shit. Poulter. I'll go Poulter there.
Tim Zimma. JT Poston a good sleeper this week? I think that he is. Again, he's another guy like Snedeker that plays the Wyndham, the Heritage, Sony. Even he was in the mix at PGA National 2 weeks ago. So I don't hate it. I just worry that it's all putting right now. And it doesn't seem to be going away, but the irons are a bit wonky.
Yeah, there's a dinosaur actually in my backyard here, which is a construction site. So I apologize for that. Yeah, it's all putting, man. $6,400. Again, Russell Hanley's my guy right there. So I'm going with him over Poston.
The DFS Schiff asks, what are your thoughts on fading the entire 10K range completely this week? I have a lot of lineups that do that start with Cantlay or Scott.
Yeah, when I first looked at the pricing, my eyes went directly to DJ at 10. And again, you could easily go below guys below DJ and have viable cases to do that. So I don't mind it at all.
Spieth gets to play with Ricky and JT and in the morning. Is it worth a shot at $7,700? I think that you just be better off taking your $7,700 and buying a really expensive shot and taking that rather than the pain than playing Jordan Spieth will cause.
Oh God, what's up with Spieth? He's just shit.
Yeah, basically until he figures out this swing change completely. Until Spieth might contend at the Masters because Freddie Couple still contends at the Masters. Once you're good at the Masters, you're good at the Masters. And there's always an outside shot that Spieth putts his way really well for 3 rounds and is like kind of in it. Then he drops 80 into the drink in the final round or something like that. But until you see his off the tee game improve, that's when you know that the swing is going to come back. I don't think that he's never not going to come back. He'll eventually get it figured out. And maybe not to the level that he once did, because tee to green, he was a monster when he was awesome. People now pretend like it was only putting was the reason that Jordan Spieth was any good. But if you just go look at the stats, that is simply not the case. But until he can start figuring out hitting fairways and driving the ball with a modicum of distance, he's just kind of a write-off at this point.
Yeah, he's got to talk to Webb, because Webb is a guy who, right, like he's the outlier in this entire thing, where he's the top 10 golfer, and his distance and all the whole movement to hitting the ball further doesn't apply to Webb. And so go talk to Webb, Jordan, and go like fashion your game after him potentially, because that's what he needs to do. That's what he needs to do to get back into the winner's circle in my mind, because you're right, man. When that tee to green game was on, he was very, very good.
Jack Jerfy says Rory wins by 4 strokes. You're welcome. Jack's the same guy that probably claimed that no one had a chance in any of the past 4 tournaments when Rory was like winning going into Sunday. So yeah, Rory is a lock to win, of course. Spieth, who are your long shot bets to top 5? I went over in the beginning of the show. You can check that out. I don't care about people's names. Adam Scott ownership projection. Already went through that. Banned for life. Absolutely hilarious. I agree. What about Hubba Hubbard for a top 20? I believe he was a part of the cheat sheet, wasn't he? Yeah. Hubbard plus 850, top 20. It's one of my bets. What are you guys doing here? Colin or Kuchar? Would you go Morikawa or Kuchar? I'm going neither.
Yeah, same. I'm going a little Kuchar in terms of some spots, but I'm full fading Morikawa.
See, here's one that's very easily answerable by the both of us. Will playing with Rory fire up Brooks enough to care? Imagine asking that question. Like I would know.
Yeah. Let's see. No.
Nah. Just Brooks is going to Brooks. He's either going to be really good or not good. That's how it's going to work out. I don't think his temperament of playing with Rory is going to change that. But it's going to be good, because if he does play well, people will be like, oh, he enjoyed the competitive spirit of playing with Rory. Or if he plays poorly, it's like, oh, the pressure was too much playing with Rory. Like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's all conjecture, like pre-tournament. Come on.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Joel Damon or Max Homa? The answer is neither. But if I had to pick, it would be Damon.
Yeah, same.
Damon first round leader is maybe a hedge if you don't want to play any Joel Damon, which I don't.
Wow, man, he always. I got Damon at top 20, but yeah, he always contends for first round leader. That's what he does. So if you want that, great. But I got a top 20. Don't want to go all in with Joey Boy there.
I believe Damon has 4 first-round leader hits in the past 2 years, so that would probably be the best route to get access to him without having him do really well. Like, if you still want him to do badly, first-round leader, just play well for 1 round, Joel. It'll be fine. Joshua asks, any love for Denny McCarthy? Nah, not here.
No.
Now, when he gains 28 strokes putting, I'll look like an idiot, but... He's like Spieth, man. He's a better putter than Spieth, and more consistent, but he also can't drive the ball.
No, you have to have, like you mentioned, you have to have some modicum of distance, and you have to have some success off the tee here to win. So no.
Let's see. Brennan Grace, we've been through that. Russell Henley, we've been through that. Any love for Chucky 3 Sticks, Charles Howell III?
No. Did he make the cut parlay or no?
No, he wasn't on it.
Because that's the guy, right? He's cut maker CH3 sticks. No love for me.
Untrue. I believe I use him at Honda, and I believe he missed the cut.
Untrue. Okay. No, I guess that's the reason why I'm not using him then. Because I'd rather use other guys in his price range.
How many pivot plays are too many for a big tournament? I mean, you can do as many as you want. 1 is generally good enough for a single entry.
Yeah, and like as preference, I usually like to stick to about 3 to 4 of my guys, even if they're chalky, and then go contrarian elsewhere. So if you want to take that, it's 33%, 2 out of 6.
Potential weather. We did at the beginning. How many golfers would you use in a 20 lineup pool? We already did that earlier. Just go back and watch the show. Thoughts on Fleetwood? We've been through that. Hadwin? We've been through that. People are just tripling and quadrupling up on their questions right now. Can I bet a prop on over under 3 putts from Benny Ann? I mean, that would be like minus 5,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one prop actually I do like is the round one under 17 and a half balls in the water. If you look on average, again, I know this is not the question, but if you look on average, it's about 11 to 12 balls per round dating back to 2003, and there were 45 balls total over the course of last year's tournament. So again, some math that could be extremely variant because we've seen guys like Tiger put 2 in the drink, right? Like, but I'm guessing that these guys hopefully know that they can't win the tournament on Thursday, but they can definitely play themselves out of it. So that's a prop I like. You got to lay juice. I think it's minus 150 on DK Sportsbook.
Kyle asks, Kisner, Horschel, Sergio, Matt Wallace, Shez Reavie, or Cameron Smith. Of those guys, I like Horschel the best. Although, I was on The Ringer yesterday with Joe House, and following me on the show was Matt Wallace. So I got the bump over Matt Wallace. I was a bigger guest than Matt Wallace was, which I really appreciate.
Oh, so it doesn't work like boxing or like UFC. You're not the undercard. It works the other way.
Yeah, no, in podcasting, if you go last, you tend to be buried a little bit.
Yeah, I'll go Kisner just to be a little different than you.
Thoughts on KH Lee? I initially came into the week wanting to use KH Lee, and he was one of my last cuts from the 6K range. So I do like him, but not enough to play him over some of the upper, like the Gooches of the world, who I just think are better scorers. And it was all weather related, where I saw that the weather wasn't going to be overly gusty, that if it was, KH Lee would be definitely in my player pool, but where it's not, someone like Gooch, who just kind of dials in and makes a bunch of birdies, looks like a better fit for this tournament.
Yeah, he's this other guy right around him. Well, he's $100 more. What do you think of Victor Perez?
VP?
VP.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm out. I mean, by world rankings, I think that he is the most undervalued player in the field. But, I mean, we've seen him now once at a WGC, and he was a fucking disaster.
Yeah. We already talked about the guys I like in the 6K range. KH Lee, I mean, yeah, he made the most of his opportunity last week. But, yeah, I'm not on him this week.
If Rory can keep the putter going all 4 rounds, there is no stopping him. Thanks. Yeah. Man, very good. I mean, I wonder how much studying that took to come up with that take. That's just blowing my mind.
It would be nice though. It would be nice to have when you and I are doing our research and to just kind of, I mean, which in a lot of ways, right? Which is kind of nice. You kind of come on these shows and you say, this is how I'm feeling. But come on, you're talking about the best player in the world. If his putter gets going, that he's going to win. Yes, clearly that's the case. Come on.
Brian Webb asks, any love for Zach Johnson? I don't hate Zach Johnson. He's the minimum price on DraftKings. I ended up going with Duffner and Hubbard down in that range because of actual birdie potential. But I like Jimmy Walker and Zach Johnson. I have no problem with them. I'm just not using with them. I could easily have said, no Hubbard, no Duffner, and use those 2 instead, because those would be the 2 I would have went to.
That's wild. I mean, T Dunks is down there at 6K. Charlie Hoffman, he's another guy who kind of pops up out of nowhere in these bigger tournaments, more so like Augusta type tournaments. But again, if you talk about the prestige of the players and what this means for these guys, the biggest purse is 2.7 mil to number 1, 50 mil purse overall. And I think what's is it 3-year exemption or is it still 2-year for winning here?
It's a 3-year exemption. That's how.
Yeah,
that's how Siwoo is still in all this stuff.
Okay, yeah. Then that's the. I mean, look. I mean, these guys clearly want to win, right? And so the min price, if you're going up top and you want to just go heavy set on Rory and these guys, absolutely, man. Charlie Hoffman and these other guys down here at 6K are not bad plays.
Talk about correlating courses. I think I've done that 5 times so far, so you can just rewind. Hama or Scheffler? I'm out on both of them. Scheffler's more expensive, but I just think that Scheffler is significantly better than Max Hama.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Joel or Hama? It's neither for both of us, it's neither for me. You went neither as well, right?
You're talking about Joel Domen?
Yeah, Joel Domen.
I actually Domen is a top 20 for me, but I'm not using him in DraftKings.
Any love for Von Taylor? I can tell you who loves Von Taylor, as they do every week. Projections. Love Von Taylor all the time. I just can't get there with him this week. I like other guys in his range more. I wouldn't sweat using him. I think he's a fine play, but he's also Von Taylor, and he has some bad rounds in him.
Yeah, your boy Christian Bezuidenhout right there by Von Taylor. No, I'm out on Von Taylor.
Bryson ownership, I have him as the third highest at 24% right now.
Yeah, I mean, you think he'd be a good fade at that ownership?
I am fading him, so
Yeah.
I hope so.
I'm not fading him. I think that's, again, 25% actually for Bryson. Not thinking about it is pretty damn high, but he's just playing too well.
Yeah, listen, chalk doesn't matter if you think the person's like going to win. Use the guys that you think are going to win. It's when you start getting dicey on guys like, oh, I like this guy as much as this guy. This guy is 8 times as more owned. Just use the other guy. Use that as your tiebreaker. Can answer top 5? Like I said, if they're in the field, they can not only top 5, they could win. Anyone.
Wow.
Throwing that out there. Xander ownership, went over that recently. What are your thoughts on starting with DJ and Hideki? Starting your lines with DJ, if he's going to be like 10%, is going to be relatively unique, and it opens up a lot of salary for you. So I don't mind any lineup, really, that starts with DJ.
Yeah, I mean, actually, if you just look at this chat, I mean, this is what, the 6th or 7th question of different sort of variations or iterations of it, right? Like starting with DJ or Brooks, DJ this, DJ. Like that's going to be potentially a popular play amongst us here because DJ is he's a good player. So it's not a bad start at all.
Thoughts on pairing Damon with Varner? Do you think that's contrarian? Anything using Joel Damon this week is not going to be contrarian. Maybe he doesn't come in as high as I have him projected, like 14, 15%. Maybe it's only like 11 or 12, but that's going to be way higher than everyone else around him. Varner's fine. I'm not saying don't use Joel Damon. It's just I find there was one year at the Masters where I think Hoffman and Na were super chalky in the low 6s back before the pricing readjusted. And both those guys were in the winning lineup, and everyone used them. That's really the only time I can think of it working out perfectly. So Hama and Damon just to me seem like fades. This guy's asking about Xander ownership again. We've given it out, but if you just want to use the 20% off code at fantasynational.com, fantasynational.com/PME, we'll give that to you. You can go search all the ownership percentages you want. Is Bud Colley a good pivot in the low 6s? I actually think he is.
Yeah, short game extraordinaire Bud Colley. Absolutely. I like it.
Any thoughts on the minimum price, guys? We've been through this. This guy keeps asking about the Xander ownership. If I see it one time, you're going to be fucking banned for life. Any Christian Bezeninu exposure? No. I used all my C-Bez exposure last week. Maybe I should be doing it. He's an excellent putter, good short game player, got locked in with the irons. I'm just really mad about Sunday. I just need him to shoot like 75 and everything would have been great, but he didn't. He shot 78 or 80 or something.
Yeah, I mean, like he's like one of these South African guys that we kind of all like. They play good and win. Clearly, right? You can look like Brandon Grace in difficult conditions or harder conditions. EVR, Ernie Els way back when. So like when you get him, that's why we saw him pop in the Florida like last week. So I don't mind it. Again, what is he, 6,800? Yeah, there he is. Again, I have some guys in that range. I don't mind it at all, but don't go overweight on Christian just because you saw him do well last week.
Graham McDowell, ? I'm using Graham McDowell. So there we go. I like him.
I am not.
Okay. Any love for Mac Hughes or Ryan Palmer? I like me some Ryan Palmer.
Yeah, Palmer's good. We talked about him.
Oh, phenomenal job, Paul, on the pronunciation, but it's not an Indian name, so I was wrong on that. So I was wrong, Paul was right. So any love for Johnny Vegas? None from me.
Nope.
I think Rick was on him when he was on the show, though. Can Hatton continue? Does he continue with success? He could be all right. I just, at $7,400, I can find guys that I like more.
Yeah, I'm out on Hatton.
CT Pan won Heritage? ? He did. That's correct. Nice work. Favorite sub 7K play? It's Ryan Palmer for me.
Cam Champ for me. Me and Cuss, baby.
Hama or Danny Lee? I got neither, but I would play Lee first.
Yeah, same.
Any indication whether this will be Honda Danny Lee or Arnold Palmer Danny Lee? No, I don't know.
What would be the indication though? Like
there is Danny Lee. There actually is none.
Right, I was gonna say Danny Lee comes out of nowhere. He's like with Adam Hadwin and all these guys who just come out of nowhere. So no, it's like James Hahn, right? Goes 8 missed cuts and then wins. So no, I don't know what you would try and figure out with Danny Lee because it could happen or it could go really, really bad.
Any Victor Perez love? We just did that. How do we feel that live coverage is going to go? Where and when does it air? It's on the PGA Tour Live app. I saw a lot of discussion about this, that if you have the Amazon account in the States, that you will not be able to watch it. You have to get the NBC Gold, which sucks. It does appear in Canada and other places around the world where Golf TV owns those rights, that it'll all be accessed through golf.tv. I think in Britain, it might be a Sky Sports app that could have it, but it does look like it's going to work. But if you have Amazon, you're kind of fucked, as it turns out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's just the way of the world here. Is that if you have Amazon, you're their beck and call. So no, like just do the monthly. I think it's $9.99 per month. Just do that, and then if you don't like it, just cancel it.
This guy's complaining about the pricing of people. I don't give a shit what the pricing is. The pricing is what it is. Like,
yeah,
I don't make the fucking pricing, so how do I know?
That's nice too. You got it before the tournament ended last week, and so you get leverage spots.
Yeah. Is Scott Piercy a viable pivot from Max Homa or Damon? I mean, if it's all about right-wing conspiracies, then if you get bonus points for that, Scott Piercy's your man.
Yeah, I'm not touching that. No way.
I like other guys better.
Me too.
Do you think having a total ownership of 90% is fine or too chalky? I think that's right around where you want to be. I would go less than that, but I don't think that's like out of control.
No. Again, it's your lineup.
Yeah, do whatever you want, man. Take the 6 chalkiest guys. Maybe everyone will talk themselves out of those plays, and all of a sudden, your Rory, Bryson, Webb, Damon, Hama, Morikawa lineup is just fire.
Why not? Just throw one in like a single unit, like a single bullet. Just do that.
This guy says, Sung J44 on Betfair. Massive price. I mean, these aren't fucking questions. You're banned for life. Fuck off. This is a chat. Chat to ask us questions, not a chat to hear yourself fucking talk. That's what I get to do. You start your own fucking show if you want that. Does Ryan Palmer get triggered again when he hits the ball in the drink on 17? I'm really praying that doesn't happen.
Did he get triggered?
I mean, he hits the ball in the water a lot. I mean, he didn't get triggered when he couldn't get out of the bunker at Riviera, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Missed you guys talk about the 6K range. Well, then just hit the fucking rewind button, pal. It's that easy. Pat, who would you pick, Homer or Danny Lee? It'd be Danny Lee.
Yep.
This guy is saying who he's out on. I don't care. You're banned for life. Sned too cheap. I think so. Head-to-head, Finau versus Casey. I bet them both at the same number, so push. Bet push on that at 16-1.
Give me Finau. Come on, one time Finau. This is it. Like, this might be his breakout win. Puerto Rico stuff. Come on.
See, these are the questions I'm looking for right here. Would you start a lineup with Rahm, Reed, and Sabatini? I mean, sure. I don't think anyone else is doing that.
No. And Rory or Sabatini always plays these difficult fields and courses, right? Like better than expected. And so I don't mind that at all. I forget what a price range he's in currently, but like no one's talking about him, right? And so you're getting that good ownership. And Patrick Reed, we clearly see what his current form is. And he's number one in putting. He's making every single thing. So I don't mind it.
Sabatini is $6,800. So yeah, I don't hate that. But I think this course plays easier than what we've seen the past 2 weeks, especially if the wind is going to be down, then maybe it's not as grindery that it normally is. Is Snedeker too cheap? Yes. Any love for Kevin Na from you, Mr. Fowler?
Man, I wanted to fit it in somehow. That's what she said. But no love.
Yeah, nah from me as well. Pick one, Morikawa, Snedeker, Scheffler, Day, or Ann. I'll go with Sneds.
What was it? Morikawa.
Snedeker, Scheffler, Day, or Ben Ann.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I'll go with Snedeker in that one.
Who make the cut this weekend? Phil or Jordan? Neither. Going back to Sam Burns again? First round leader only for me.
No Sam Burns for me. Sorry, out.
Guy's so good at putting on Bermuda.
I know. God, I know.
Might be late on this, but how you feeling about Reed? Patrick Reed, not Reid Fowler. Even at his price, I feel like he's going over. Look, completely agree. I'm using Patrick Reed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thoughts on nasty Nate Lashley? I actually have none, except for the fact that I learned that his wife is super hot.
Yeah, he has a really cool story too. Go back and go on YouTube or whatever it was. Golf Channel did an expose, I believe, on his story leading up to where he's coming or leading up to this tournament. And so watch that. But I'm not using any Nate.
Is fading Morikawa more to do with ownership or experience, or you prefer other players? I think it's a combination of all three. I think Morikawa, talent-wise and projection-wise, is the best of that range of players, but I know that he's going to be one of the 3 highest-owned players. He's never played this course before, so I'm just making a deduction that maybe he doesn't perform as well here as he's done at other places, even first-time places that he's went to, because this is such a unique course and I get to box out so much of the field if he does perform poorly, so that's where I'm at. This guy asked, can I get banned for life? Absolutely, and go fuck yourself on the way out, too. Any correlation to the fact that English players get jealous or motivated when one of their people win? What are you talking about?
Wow. But what if that's inside information? What if this person knows that they do?
Sure.
Okay.
Use that.
Okay.
That take is in the cuss zone.
No, exactly.
McDowell and ZJ or Collie or Damon? I'd probably go McDowell and ZJ.
I'll go Damon side.
Okay. How much salary is too much salary to leave on the table? I think the most I have in any lineup is 900 left on the table.
Yeah, mine's 700.
Love the game theory and the Fantasy National mixed condition model. Who doesn't? FantasyNational.com/PME, 20% off, by the way. Struggling to balance the two. Are the low ownership guys you are into, Snedeker, Palmer, Scott, also popping in your model? When I really factored out with those correlation courses I talked about. And those guys, I mean, Scott just plays well at this event all the time. He's playing well right now. He's won at almost every course in Florida. So that really goes a long way for me. Plus, he can really dial in these irons when he gets hot. So that's why I like him. Snedeker and Palmer are pure correlation course plays. Again, Wyndham, Sony, Eastlake, Heritage, PGA National, these short Bermuda courses, Snedeker and Palmer tend to play really well, plus they're low ownership. So there are guys that are rated right around them, but coming at higher ownership, I'll just take the lower ownership guys.
Yeah, and so in my mixed condition, I went Pete Dye, tee to green over 36 rounds, fast Bermuda putting or last 50, and then ops gained and birdie or better gained. Just wanted to see kind of where these guys are at current, and then also digging the history. Look at Brian Harmon is someone that performs well in that 6K range. Cameron Champ, again, is another one. So those would be the two guys in my model that I use that I like.
Let's see. Wolf coming in less than 100%. Any love? Nah, not here.
No, same.
7,300. Who do you prefer, Fitz or Poulter? Neither for me.
Poulter for me.
Okay. Pat, love your analysis, as always. I love you, Nick Johnson. How about Jason Day for low ownership? Yeah, listen, if he plays, then he's going to be worth it at 3% ownership. But you have to live with the fact that if you take him, don't be the first person out there be like, I can't believe Jason Day withdrew. Like, you know what you're fucking getting into with Jason Day. Like, live with the result that it could be a 0. And then if you do that and you've come to terms with it, by all means, use him.
Right, and then really lean into the reason why you want to play Jason Day. Like, don't shy away from that.
Yeah, if he wasn't hurt and he had played well last week, everyone would be using Jason Day.
Exactly.
Let's see here. Russell Henley. Do his irons stay hot? He gained over 10 strokes gained on approach at the Honda. Yeah, that is something that is not going to sustain itself. But if he just gained 5 this week or 4, he'd still be a really good play. I just don't know. I think it is 3 in a row for him now. Yeah, 1.2 at Phoenix, 3.7 at Genesis, 10.6 at Honda. If he turns the putter around, like, he's looking like a pretty good play. I might have to readjust a little bit because I know you're on Henley. Maybe I need to get into that as well.
Yeah, he's 32nd, right? Looking at my mixed model, strokes gained putting in the last 50 on fast Bermuda. So again, that's the reason why too. I like a guy like Xander a little bit more. I'm going heavyweight on him. A guy like Cam Champ to match that distance. I'm looking at these guys who can putt well because that thing always remains the same at TPC Sawgrass. These greens are extremely firm and fast. So that's why I really like Henley in this spot.
Remember, if you're still sticking around, smash that like button. It goes a long way to help keeping this show free and going for as long as we've been going. We're over an hour and a half into it right now. Y'all are great. You're great, Kyle Derrick. Pick 2. The Todd Father, Hadwin, Poulter, Damon, Hovland, Grace, Neiman, Berger, or the Gooch, or Vegas. I will go with Todd and Gooch because those are the only 2 players of that list that I'm going to use. How about this one? This guy says he's an insider with Hatton's Party and Beer, McDowell, and Poulter. I don't know if I believe this guy.
Remember that one time that I was talking about KJ Choi last year, and he knew KJ Choi? We're like, no, you don't know KJ Choi. And then it ended up him actually giving us some information that we liked. Yeah. I'm actually going to believe this guy.
All right. There you go. Play all the Brits then.
Yeah, play all the Brits.
Yeah, I'm on the inside. I'm watching fantasy golf shows on the internet. Shane Lowry or Matt Kuchar, neither for me, but between the two, I guess I'd go Shane Lowry.
I'll go Kuchar there.
Billy Ho, love? Yes, I will be using Billy Horschel. I like him this week.
Yep, Billy Ho's good.
Laird percentage, I'm 0.
0.1, just for variance.
Let's see. Not totally players tourney related. Why doesn't PGA have player update info to help us out, like injury reports? We've been through this millions of times because we don't know. It's not like there's team doctors evaluating these guys. It's whatever they tell you. So
Yeah, and they're independent contractors. So
they don't have to tell you anything.
They don't have to say anything.
Let's see. Mr. Fowler, who are your outright winners? We went over the betting cards at the beginning. I believe you made your picks at 7:31 of this show, if you want to rewind to that. Any love for Cameron Tringali? Not really for me. The model likes him.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the model likes him this week. I don't.
Yeah, same.
Worried about Cantley's time off or solid pick? He's my pick to win, so I'm incredibly worried about him.
Yeah, he's no, don't worry about that, man. He's one of the best. Look at his stats. Come on.
Did Andercuck actually put it in his bets this week? How the fuck am I supposed to know? I'm not his babysitter. Will Si Woo ever be great again? Hopefully. He needs to be more like America, Reid. Be great again.
This show is turning into something interesting. I don't know, man. Si Woo. Yeah, why not? Come on, Si Woo. I mean, you did us well. So like in 2017, just got to get that driver and not blow up on every other hole. And this is the one spot, man. If there is a spot that he can get back to good graces, it's here. So I want him to, just because of what he did for all of us way back when. Man, he's been playing terrible recent.
Yeah, I mean, he's 300 to 1. You want to throw $5 on Si Woo? Go for it. I might do the same just for peace of mind. We're basically like Alan Alda in that episode of The West Wing when the nuclear plant melts down, where you're just trying to wear everyone out. We're down to I'm at the bottom of the chat. There are a few questions left, so we're going to go 5 more minutes if no one has more questions. There's 5 in the queue right now. That's as many as we're going to take. We only got to 143 likes. If we got to 200 likes, because I see the people watch it. There's plenty of people out there to smash that like button. They're just not doing it, Reid. I don't know what they're up to. But Adam says, thoughts on DJ? Good value? Yes, we went over this. Ortiz, Munoz, Garcia, GPP. How about none of them? What do you think about that?
Yeah, none of them.
Do you prefer strokes gained tee to green or off the tee to build lineups this week? Well, since off the tee is a part of tee to green, I'd use approach and not either of those two.
Yeah, I would lean tee to green in a mixed model for die courses to see how these guys navigate through those courses. Here, I'd go approach overall, first overall, and then, I mean, off the tee is fine. Like I mentioned earlier, right? Guys who performed well off the tee won, like Rory and Si Woo at that time. But you also got to take into account Rory is one of the best players, period. So I don't take it into a huge account, but I can see why you'd want to here.
Let's see. Any love for Russell Knox? 4 straight missed cuts, but 3 strokes gained on approach last week. We went over Knox, I believe, on Monday's show. It worries me that his history at the 17th hole was the worst in the field. I ended up going with Palmer, who also sucks on 17. But there's just something about Russell Knox. I get it. I get all the logic. If you want to play him, go for it. I don't think it's a bad play. I just can't stomach it.
Yeah, I'm not going to play him either.
Casey, Fowler, answer fits. Pick 2. For me, Fowler and Im.
Ooh, I'll go Im. It was Cantley in there?
No, it was Casey.
Oh, yeah, then Casey.
Do you worry about Cantley's ability to do celebratory yayo if he wins? Could be a huge deterrent.
For Cantley, I want a hot mic to pick up what he was saying to his caddy again. That was one of the best things at the Kapalua. It was great.
Listen, if he wins and he wants to get into the yayo after he wins, his $3 million paycheck will probably be enough to get him out of any charges. So it's all good for Patrick Cantley if that's what he's into. Would you ignore Hatton entirely this week off his win? I wouldn't. I am, because he's so goddamn popular. That's really the reason with Hatton. I think that he could do really well at this course. But if 15% of the field is going to think the exact same thing, I'll think something else.
Yeah, and that's where I would differentiate, right? Because you can build a case around guys like Kiz or Bubba or other guys in that 7K range, as opposed to why you would want to really smash Hatton in these spots. Again, don't correlate it the same way. We talked about this earlier, that Sanjay Im, what he did back-to-back to what Hatton can potentially do back-to-back. Because we haven't seen it yet from Hatton. We've seen it before from Im.
Want to say thanks for the show. Thank you for watching. Thank you all out there for watching. Smash the like if you did like it. If you didn't like it, well, I mean, it's probably half you out there, but no one fucking cares about that. Just don't watch. It's that easy. Who throws in the biggest lipper this week? The Dip, DJ, or Duffner? It's got to be Duffner.
Oh yeah, it's got to be Duffner. He just has that aura about him. I love it, man.
Luke List or Patrick Rogers, final spot? Neither. You can check out my cheat sheet up on dkplaybook.com or just have listened to the show to know who I like in the 6K range. Any love for Danny Lee? No. You?
Nope.
Last two. Fitzpatrick, Leishman, Poulter. Pick one. I'm playing neither, but I'll go with Poulter.
Same.
Very last question. Reid, Fowler, or Reid Fowler? Pick one.
Oh, this one right here. Give me a break.
I will take the Jason Day doppelganger, Reid Fowler.
Thank you.
Better. I mean, that's unfair to you. You're in far better shape than Jason Day is.
That's not true. Actually, it is true. You're right.
That is true. You're svelte. Jason Day he's been adding the old dad weight over the years. I know what that's like.
He's got the Disney World dad bod going on there.
All right, that'll do it. An hour and 40-minute live chat. It's been a while since we've done a live chat, Reid. Thank you so much for this week. If you check out the PGA Twitter right now, Reid has his video live from Sawgrass up there now. And stay away from coronavirus. Stay at your house.
Yeah, we got in the the state of Massachusetts. It's a a state of emergency. So we all got to stay indoors. But yeah, go to the PGA Tour Twitter handle. Go to my Twitter at Reid T. Fowler. You get all the stuff there. I'm working with Action Network to get bets that were going to come through even at the end of today. My final sort of betting card. So go check that out. But yeah, this is great. Let's keep on doing this, man.
Yeah, congratulations. I saw this morning that you're now a part of the new Action Network golf team in partnership with the PGA. Huge congrats on that.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It's less work that I have to do. It's perfect. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Cut Sweat Live Friday afternoon. Be there. And I might ban you for life if you're lucky enough. I told you about the giveaways. Fantasy National, 20% off. Smash the like on your way out. My betting card, am I to make the cut parlay? I will release here momentarily once I go have a cig and give 5 minutes of thought on whether or not I want to add Dustin Johnson or Adam Scott to my betting card. I might not. You'll have to tune in to find out. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.